A federal judge has blocked the Trump administration's move to essentially carry out immigration raids at places of worship, something that was announced early on in Trump's second term. In fact, a day after he was inaugurated, the Trump administration rescinded a Biden-era directive that prevented immigration enforcement in places of worship. However, there was a lawsuit filed by Democracy Forward in regard to that Department of Homeland Security guidance and announcement that they would be doing immigration raids at places of worship. And a federal judge has sided with the plaintiffs in this case. They're arguing that, look, allowing federal agents to indiscriminately target migrants is in violation of religious freedom and expression rights. And in this case, the judge agreed. So let's hear from Theodore Chang. That is the US District Judge who blocked DHS on this matter. Here's what he had to say in his decision. Armed law enforcement officers operating in or at places of worship pursuant to the 2025 policy will adversely affect the ability of Quakers and Sikhs to follow their religious beliefs or worship freely. He also argues that given that each of plaintiffs has religious beliefs that cause them to welcome and serve immigrants, has significant immigrant membership or operates in communities with significant immigrant populations, and has not disavowed that they will continue to serve immigrants both with and without legal status, it is reasonable to expect the Department of Homeland Security will direct immigration enforcement toward plaintiffs specifically. And so the judge added that although the plaintiffs each had different religious views, that didn't really matter in this case because all were in agreement that being welcoming to immigrants was a central part of their faith, central part of the practice of their faith.
Yeah, so I totally agree with this. And so I'm curious whether you were gonna think that my view is extreme. I think that even if they're have criminals in the church or religious building, that the cops should not go in. And so, look, I believe that we should not do mass deportations. I love when religious organizations protect immigrants that didn't do anything wrong. I do believe we should send criminal undocumented immigrants back, but. And I'm an atheist, so I've got no dog in that fight of between the religions and stuff. But I believe in the United States Constitution, and we protect religious freedom in these parts. And so if your religion says that you have to be welcoming to immigrants and you protect those immigrants, I think the government should have a thou shalt not pass at the door of the church, the temple, etc. And by the way, if you're a Christian, there is endless quotes in the Bible about Jesus and God being in favor of immigrants, often referred to as strangers. Like, I'll give you one, but there's so many. Deuteronomy 10:19 said, "You shall also love the stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt." So that is a core tenet of Christianity, let alone all the other religions. So, you could say, hey, yeah, but I don't agree with that in terms of policy here in America, no problem. But when religious leaders do want to protect people based on their religious faith and beliefs, we've got to let them do that here in America.
Yeah, look, I'm also not a believer in institutions of religion, right? Like anyway, but my point is that religious liberty is an important part of this country, and I deeply respect the religious people of faith in this country, and want to protect their ability to practice their faith. And so I think that this argument is a good argument to bring forward in regard to how what DHS is intending to do is wrong, because just think about what that would look like, right? You have places of worship being raided by ICE. That's going to interrupt the religious practices of everyone who's in that place of worship, right? And so to your point about someone who might be an undocumented immigrant who was suspected of committing terrible crimes, like violent crimes or things like that, I don't think you need to necessarily raid a place of worship in order to arrest them. I think ICE can either wait outside and arrest that individual after they have their religious practices, or whatever services done. Invading and interrupting religious, like church or whatever, it's just not the right way to go. I don't think it's a good way to go. So I don't know if the Trump administration is going to appeal this decision or challenge it, but notice how DHS also said that schools might be raided. This has nothing to do with the schools. They specifically blocked the order as it pertains to places of worship.
Yeah, so if you're on the side of protecting immigrants, don't get too excited. This is very specific, right? And then if you're on the side of deporting folks, and this is not going to play well, raiding churches and other houses of worship. So if I was on that side, I'd say tread carefully. But it doesn't look like they're treading carefully on anything. So if they start knocking down the doors, apparently as they have already to some degree, that's why they went to court, knocking down the doors of churches to get in, that is going to play awful with the American people.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.